have a story that I've been sitting on for a long time because I was afraid. I was afraid. I was afraid to share this story. I have other stories that touch on mystic reality breaking through that I've been a little bit less afraid to share because they seemed like they were for me. It turns out inner life material is actually not really ever just for ourselves. It's always in service to the whole, even if we don't explicitly share it, because that inner life material becomes us over time as we allow it, in the speed, scope, and scale that we allow it to become us. So, yeah, there are some stories that I have shared a little bit, and this one I have shared not as much because it was almost immediately in my awareness that this was to be shared, that this was a technology to be shared. And I got scared. I got scared because for most of my childhood, my mother gave me the message that they kill people like me. Part of that is coming from brown parents. Part of that is seers, people who are in contact in a relatively consistent way with the more than ordinary reality. But it's time to share this story. It's time to share this story because there are things that are being asked of me to create, to share, to invite people to that requires the backstory. To know what we're really getting into, to know what the work that is being revealed through me is really about. Somewhere between 2016 and 2017, I need to look at my notes, but I know it was around there. And I know it was around there because within a year and a half or so, my life manifested the shift that happened when this happened, in a pretty significant way. And I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to tell the story like as it happened, to the best of my ability. So sometime around May, because I knew my birthday was coming up, and my birthday's in May. Humans are so funny. I received a message very clearly in my head that said, you will take 3 baths and you'll know when to take them and you'll know what to do. And I was like, okay, sounds cool. A little while later, let's say around a week, 10 days or a week, I knew it was time to take a bath and I knew what to do. I really did. I knew that I needed to put specific things in the water. I knew that I needed to light a white candle, and I knew that I needed to cover my body in bentonite clay. And I did those things. I did those things, and I followed the trail, the breadcrumb trail of listening. So I put the things in the water, I lit the candle, I covered my body in bentonite clay. I knew that I needed to get into the tub in a very specific way, that I needed to face away from the faucet this first time, and that my left foot needed to go in. I needed to land it. My right foot needed to go in. I needed to land it. And then I knew I needed to crouch down with my head in the water, which was really uncomfortable. Particularly because my dad died by drowning. I was like, all right. But I needed to like hold my breath and have my face under the water. And then I needed to land my left side for a long time. And then my back briefly, and then my right side for a shorter amount of time. And then I knew I was done with the first bath. And so I stood up, I turned the shower on, I rinsed the rest of the clay off and watched it go down the drain. I mindfully got out of the tub. And it was very subtle. It wasn't like, ah, see graphic here. Holy sky opening up. It was like quiet. It was a quiet shift. Around 28 days later, it was time for the second bath. And I did note that one, that it was the new moon. It's like, this might be corresponding with the new moon. And same kind of thing. I knew what to put in the bath. I knew I needed to light the white candle. I knew I needed to cover my body in clay. I knew I needed to get in the tub with my right foot, let it land, my left foot, let it land, and then I listened for how I needed to be in the bath, and I did those things. When it was done, I turned on the shower and I rinsed all the clay off. I watched the water go down the drain, and I remember being aware of like, my stuff's going down the drain. Like, this isn't just like the clay. This is like my stuff. Like the big charge of the stuff was beginning to go down the drain. I mindfully got out of the tub. Again, not dramatic, gentle. I have thoughts about that. about how when it's real, it's really often not bombastic. It's so often woven into the mundane. The magic is so woven into the mundane. Again, shifts began to happen. I'm like looking in my memories right now. Like I remember shifts beginning to happen in how I was communicating and how I was feeling, because at that moment in my life, I was married to a man that was not good for me. And he would maybe say I wasn't good for him, but there were very clear things that happened in our marriage that were really bad. I'll leave it at that. And I began to situate my inner sense of self differently after the second bath. Subtle, but significant. And about 28 days later, and this was around August or September, somewhere in there, the third bath happened. I knew it was time for the third bath. This one was a bigger deal. This is the part that I'm like, well, hopefully they don't kill people like me. Well, I put the stuff in the bath. I lit the white candle. I covered myself in clay. And then all of a sudden, my bathroom accordioned out and became way bigger. And there were hundreds of ancestors around me, and they were all talking all at the same time. And I said, stop that. That's so overwhelming. I'm going to ask that one of you speak. And the one that would be the mouthpiece stepped forward and kind of bitch slapped me. A little bit of a bitch slap. She was basically like, you're playing small. You're playing small in all of these ways, and it's leaking your energy, and it's really obstructing our ability to like do our work, and you need to stop it. There's more to it. I'll share more about some of those pieces in more personal settings than this, but I received it. I received the bitch slap. The like, phew. You need to do better by yourself, because it's not just about you. It's also us. And I was like, oh shit, totally. Like, I'm dishonoring my ancestors by questioning so many aspects of my identity in a way in which I'm crumbling and leaking energy. So that was cool. But like, that's not the part that even has me scared to share the story. Cause then I got in the tub. One foot, let it land. Other foot, let it land. And as soon as that other foot landed, a golden light came out of the bathroom wall and hit me in the third eye and gave me movements to clear DNA, trauma from the DNA. Like, as soon as it entered my body, I saw all of the movements and knew, I didn't even hear it, I just knew it, that these movements clear trauma from the DNA. And I was like, well, that's a big deal. And I knew that I needed to do the movements in the tub And I did. And then I knew that I needed to rinse off. Like, there was no crouching. It was standing now. There was no crouching in that bath. I was standing, I rinsed the clay off, and I really felt that I rinsed the clay off. And I got out of the tub, and I was naked walking into my room, and I knew I needed to do the movements again. The other thing that I knew when I received the movements that it said, but without saying it, was that 3 more things would become clear over the next few days. And as soon as I walked into my room, a thing became clear, which was that it was called the Dance of the Lotus. And I was like, okay. And then I did it again. The next day I was in a network chiropractic appointment. If you don't know network chiropractics, I highly recommend it. It's very different than make the sound, crack your bones. It's like nervous system repair chiropractics, which is important to this because I was in sort of a trance state and knew that there was breath that corresponded with the movements. And the third day, I was teaching a drop-in class called Open Your Voice, and there were a handful of people in the room. And when it came time for my check-in, I was like, a thing happened. Do you all want to hear about it? And they were like, yes. And then they were like, we want to do that. And I knew how to do it as a group. So there's a way to do the Dance of the Lotus solo, and there's a way to do the Dance of the Lotus as a group. And when you do it as a group, it amplifies it. And there's a chant that goes with it that an elder shared with me many years ago. And I knew that that went together because it perfectly corresponds. It perfectly corresponds. Many years went by. I didn't share much about it because I was scared. Because who wants to say that like a golden dragon light came out of the wall and was like, here are these movements? Of course, there were things that came out around that time, which was interesting. Like the show The OA came out within a year of that happening. Like whether it was a year before or a year after, I don't know, because I saw it after. Like I saw that show after that came out, and I was like, well, that's an affirmation. Yikes. And a few years ago, I started sharing with a few individuals in my practice and was taking notes. We were all taking notes. We were like experimenting with it and getting a sense of what was really happening. And then this year I've started sharing it more, and more has happened, and more has happened. There are more stories around this and how this is a piece. It's not the way. I'm not saying that I have like a saving thing to save the world from trauma. This is a piece. It's a piece among many. And there are some other stories that have some other pieces. And what I know is that when more of us get together in rooms and share these kinds of things together, that more will come. That it's not about how cool I am. It just could come through me. So it came to me. And if I keep holding it to myself, I'm really doing a disservice to my ancestors and to the beings who have invited and requested me to share it. And I'm making some spaces to share it where it can be honored, not just in the purity, if you will, of the movements, but actually in the community coming together around these pieces of technology and collaborating, co-creating, co-weaving what we know, because that's how lineage liberation actually happens. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about, I'm going to be putting on a masterclass called Lineage Liberation in early December. And in late January is a retreat in Great Falls, Montana, where we're really going to dive into lineage liberation and the Dance of the Lotus and what it means to actually be here undefined by trauma, lightening the load of the charge of generations that have built systems based on trauma. It's not therapy. It's not plant medicine. It's not a yoga retreat. It's something else, something where we can imagine something new beside each other in a playful way.